Two people borrow money, same amount. 5 years later, one has more money, one has less. Same loan, different results. You were taught debt is bad. Stay out of it. Pay cash. If you can't afford it, don't buy it. But here's what the rich don't tell you. They use debt all the time. They just use it differently. Today, I'm not giving you motivation. I'm showing you how debt actually works, why it lifts some people up and pushes others down, and why the game is rigged from the start. Here's the simple difference. Most people borrow money to buy stuff: a car, a TV, a vacation, dinner you already ate. This stuff loses value the second you buy it, and you're paying interest on top of it. So you end up paying more for something that's worth less. That's bad debt. Now look at how rich people borrow. They borrow money to buy things that make money: a house someone else pays rent on, a business that sells things, equipment that does the work for them. That stuff goes up in value, or it pays you back, or both. One guy borrows 30,000 for a car. 3 years later, the car is worth 18,000. He's still paying the loan. Another guy borrows 30,000 to start a small business. First year, he makes 50,000. He pays back the loan and keeps the profit. Same money borrowed. Completely different life. This isn't about being smarter. It's about knowing what the loan is for. If your loan buys something that loses value, the bank wins. You lose. If your loan buys something that makes money, you win. Bank still wins, but you keep the rest. That's the whole game. Now here's where it gets really interesting. Rich people don't just borrow to start businesses. They borrow so they don't have to sell things. Let me explain. Say you buy a house for 100,000. 10 years later, it's worth 500,000. You want that money. What do? Normal person sells the house, pays tax on the profit, keeps what's left. Rich person does something else. They go to the bank and say, I own a house worth 500,000. Give me a loan for 300,000. The bank says yes. They get 300,000 in cash. They don't sell the house. They don't pay tax. The house keeps growing in value, and the interest on the loan is usually very low. This is how billionaires live. Elon Musk does this. Jeff Bezos does this. They don't sell their stock. They borrow against it. They get cash without paying tax. Their wealth keeps growing while they spend borrowed money. Then when they pass away, their kids get everything. And guess what? The tax bill disappears. They call this buy, borrow, die. It's not a secret. It's just the rules. And the rules were written by people who play this game. Now let's talk about the other side. Why do poor people borrow for stuff that loses value? Are they just bad with money? No. They borrow because they have to. When your paycheck doesn't cover rent, your kid needs school supplies, or the car breaks down and you need it to get to work. What do? You use a credit card. You take a payday loan. You borrow at 25%, 30%, 400% interest, not because you want to, because you have no other choice. This is what researchers call debt-based welfare. The system doesn't give poor people money when they're struggling. It gives them loans, expensive loans. Meanwhile, the same system gives rich people cheap loans to buy more assets. So the poor borrow to survive, the rich borrow to grow, and the poor end up paying interest to the rich every single month. One transaction, two directions, one goes up, one goes down. So where does that leave you? You're probably not a billionaire borrowing against stocks, but you still have a choice. Ask one question before you borrow money. What is this loan buying me? If it's something that loses value or something you'll forget about in a month, that's bad debt. Try to avoid it. If it's something that puts money in your pocket or something that goes up in value, that's better debt. Not always easy to get, but worth chasing. You don't need to start with an apartment building. Maybe you borrow to take a course that gets you a better job. Maybe you borrow to buy tools that let you start a side business. Maybe you buy a small duplex, live in one side, rent the other. Start small, but start asking the right question. The rich didn't get rich because they never borrowed. They got rich because they borrowed for things that made them richer. Look, the game isn't fair. Rich people get better loans, better rates, better tax breaks. That's not your fault, but it is your problem. And the only way out is to understand how the game works. Same dollar, same loan, same signature on the paper. One direction keeps you where you are. The other direction moves you forward. Choose wisely. If this made sense, share it with someone who needs to hear it. I'll see you in the next one.